Pick up an egg right now and take a good look at it. White, brown, maybe even blue. Have you ever stopped to wonder why that color exists? Most people who've kept chickens for years have never asked themselves this question, and the answer behind it goes way beyond looks. According to research published in Poultry Science, eggshell color comes down to specific pigments that a hen deposits while the egg is forming. And by the end of this video, you'll never look at your egg basket the same way again. Let's start with the most obvious one, the white egg. It looks like the default egg, the one you see in any grocery store. But the explanation behind it is simpler than you'd think, and at the same time, pretty revealing. According to research on brown-shelled eggs published in Poultry Science, white shells happen when a hen has very little of a pigment called protoporphyrin, the same pigment responsible for brown coloring in her system. The shell starts out white because it's made mostly of calcium carbonate, and without that pigment being deposited, it simply stays that natural color. Breeds like the Leghorn are known for this trait, and here's the first big twist. According to that same research, egg color isn't proven to be linked to nutritional value or taste. It's largely just genetics. If white means very little pigment, brown is the opposite, a high concentration of it. According to a review of egg color genetics compiled by Kenyon College's Microbe Wiki, protoporphyrin is the main pigment responsible for brown coloring, and it gets deposited on the surface of the shell in the final hours before the egg is laid. And here's something interesting. That pigment concentrates on the outer layer, which is why brown often looks more intense on the surface than on the inside of the shell. The intensity of that brown varies a lot between breeds because how much pigment gets deposited has a genetic basis. That same review notes that different breeds produce shades ranging from light tan all the way to almost chocolate brown. Now here's a part that surprises even experienced keepers, the blue egg. Unlike white and brown, which depend on how much of the same pigment, protoporphyrin, is present, blue has a completely different genetic origin. According to the American Poultry Association, it's caused mainly by a pigment called biliverdin, and, unlike the protoporphyrin in brown eggs, which stays concentrated on the surface, biliverdin runs all the way through the shell. That means if you crack open a blue egg, the inside of the shell looks blue too. According to Kenyon College's Microbe Wiki, this trait first showed up a few centuries ago in chickens kept by the Mapuche people in Chile, and research published in Poultry Science links the blue egg trait to an ancient retrovirus insertion in the chicken genome, tied to a gene called SLCO1b3. This trait is genetically dominant enough that when a chicken carrying it is crossed with other breeds, it can pass that trait on to its offspring, which is exactly what explains our next color. If white means low protoporphyrin and brown means high protoporphyrin on the surface, what happens when a hen produces both pigments, protoporphyrin and biliverdin, at the same time? That's where green or olive eggs come from. When a hen deposits biliverdin, which runs through the whole shell, making the inside blue, and also deposits protoporphyrin on the surface, the brown pigment, the result is a layered effect. A blue base underneath with brown on top, producing shades that range from light olive to a darker, more muted green. This kind of genetic combination is exactly what research on blue-green shelled chickens, like studies on China's Dongxiang line published via Science Direct, describes when looking at crosses between blue egg and brown egg breeds. And there's one more level that even experienced keepers often miss: the subtle variations within each color. Soft pinks, creamy tones, or faint blue-grays that don't quite fit into any of the categories above. These variations happen because the exact amount of pigment deposited isn't fixed. It can vary from one bird to the next. Research shows that even within the same breed, and even within the same line, you can find measurable differences in color intensity between individual hens, which goes to show that egg pigmentation is more of a spectrum than a set of fixed categories. And this is where everything connects. Egg color can actually work as an indirect signal about where a hen is in her life cycle. Not about the egg itself, but about what's going on with the bird that laid it. Research on shell quality in laying hens links changes in pigmentation over a hen's productive cycle to factors like age and stage of lay. One important note: if you notice a really sudden, dramatic change in your hen's egg color, it's worth keeping an eye on other signs too, like appetite and behavior. And if you're concerned, it's best to talk to a veterinarian who specializes in poultry, since they're the ones who can properly evaluate the whole picture. In the end, every color that comes out of your hen's nest is genetics, chemistry, and a tiny window into what's going on with that bird, all at once. White is low pigment, brown is high pigment on the surface. Blue is a different pigment that goes all the way through, and green is both of those layered together. Next time you go collect your eggs for the day, you might not just see different colors. You might see a little genetic map being written, one egg at a time, every single day. If this kind of thing, figuring out what your chickens have been telling you all along, is something you're into, hit subscribe, because every week we decode another signal your chickens have been giving you that nobody ever explained.